The phrase "with great power comes great responsibilities." This is a phrase synonymous with all media involving Peter Parker, involving Spider-Man, whether it be comic books, movies, TV shows. And I don't think that phrase has ever made more sense than Insomniac's Spider-Man series. Insomniac, when back on the PlayStation 4, when they were handed the keys to the Spider-Man video game universe, and they were able to, carve out their own story, create their own world, their own form of New York and Peter Parker, and how the player engages with it. Yes, they pulled inspiration from everything from comic books to movies to TV shows to other video games. But all of that, they made the decision to blend so perfectly in their own world, to tell a tale that we've already heard so many times, and to weave it in their own way where it feels so nostalgic, so familiar, yet also so different and so unique. Insomniac understood that with an icon like Spider-Man, with a world so known, with a character so iconic, they had to live up to it. And they hit their mark with Spider-Man back on the PlayStation 4. They did it again with Miles Morales. And when Spider-Man 2 was coming around, there was definitely a lot of hype. Insomniac had earned our trust as a development team that really understands how to make a Spider-Man game and also how to make it truly special. There was, however, also a lot of doubters who were saying this is just going to be very iterative, that it's not really going to break the mold, it's going to be what you come to expect from just a Spider-Man game, from an Insomniac game, and it's not really going to do much as far as wow people, as, this is a sequel. We've already been wowed by the first one. Miles Morales already kind of like helped us temper expectations. So Spider-Man 2, as a sequel to an amazing game, had a lot of proving to do as far as how much they were going to iterate and how much they were going to expand or evolve this original formula that Insomniac mastered so well back on the PlayStation 4. Now, in this video, we're going to do a review over Spider-Man 2. There will be some minor spoilers, as I feel like it might make sense. I'm going to try to stay away from any like huge plot points if you haven't beat the game or anything, or if you're still playing through it. But yeah, this is going to be my review of Insomniac's Spider-Man 2 on the PlayStation 5 after completing the game. Let's start off with the most important part of this game, and that is the gameplay straight up. Traversal in Spider-Man is by far the best open world traversal system in any open world game, bar none. How fast you can navigate from one side to the other is extremely satisfying. Whether it be swinging, whether it be zipping, whether it be flying with the wings, all of it just makes so much sense. It feels so smooth, so seamless. Insomniac really mastered the coolness of being Spider-Man and navigating, and the animations in this game are so, bar none, they are some of the best animations in gaming, period. Insomniac really, again, they understand how cool and fun swinging around as Spider-Man should be. And whether it be when you see Spider-Man movies or comics and, he's swinging and saying, woohoo, wow, he's doing his sounds and stuff like that, and he's sounding cool and it looks fun. That's what Insomniac really harnessed. They really, really made you feel cool when you're floating around as Peter, as Miles, throughout the city, and you hear people screaming they need help over here. You're trying to help people around in your neighborhood, stuff like that. Again, the gameplay of being Spider-Man just has never felt so much better in this game. And honestly, that's one of the things that is a huge advantage to Insomniac Spider-Man than pretty much any other game, is the fact that Spider-Man is such a unique character with such a unique moveset that anytime you get to play around with that, it's definitely going to be a really good fun time, as long as you really understand the core idea of who Spider-Man is. But again, you can't really imagine any other character in any other video game who swings around like a spider and walks on walls and stuff like that. It's stuff that doesn't make sense, but because us as an audience member already understand Spider-Man as a character, it gives Insomniac a lot of room to really play around with some of the stuff that we've already put in our heads that this makes sense. So all they gotta do is really live up to that superhero fantasy that a lot of us, when we read comics or we watch the movies, we see this character and we're like, wow, that'd be really cool. Again, they really made it feel just awesome to do so. Alright, now let's talk about the combat in this game. In the original Spider-Man game back on the PlayStation 4, can't really say I was a fan of the combat per se. It felt a little like really loose, and there wasn't a lot of like rules as far as like, how the combat worked. It was just very like dodge, swing, web balls and stuff like that. I also didn't really like the weapon wheel too much in the original Spider-Man game. I feel like Miles Morales definitely did a lot better job of implementing combat into the Spider-Man game. And Spider-Man 2 has definitely taken a lot of tricks from Miles Morales and also helped elevate it. Things like the little like directional D-pads, stuff like that that kind of changes inside your weapons. It makes it easier to go around gadgets. It makes it easier to go around your skills. Combat in this game definitely feels a lot more smooth, especially when you do eventually unlock the Venom suit. Spoilers, you get the Venom suit in this game. When you do get the Venom suit and you feel like so strong and powerful, it's one of those things that Insomniac really found a way to tell the story through the gameplay. Peter plays different than Miles, and the Venom Peter plays different than any of those two. Whether there be heavier hits, harder hits, they have like the sludge attacks, things like that that make me feel like you're definitely a different character, as well as the things that's being said during combat that really again help drive home the narrative of each character and where their headspace is at. When you're playing as Miles and he's kind of moves smoother and he's a little more floaty and he has like electric attacks, things like that that really add a little extra layer to who these characters are outside of just the Spider-Man, right? Because they're all some form of Spider-Man. It's just like the little things that make them different, as well as the things that make them unique enough, right? It's not like you're playing two completely different characters. It kind of just feels like they have some shared move sets, and then beyond that, they kind of like navigate combat differently. Whether it be Peter, who uses his like machines to help fight, more gadgets, and then the Venom symbiote Peter that does like more heavy hits and sludge attacks, and Miles who does like the electric attacks. He is also a little bit better at just fighting people up front without using any gadgets. Overall, I mean like combat in this game is definitely elevated beyond what Insomniac did with Miles Morales and Spider-Man back on the PS4. Now, I think the gameplay in and of itself would have made this a phenomenal Spider-Man game, but I think the narrative is what elevates this above probably any other Spider-Man media I've experienced in a very, very long time. Now, all jokes aside, this isn't really a Spider-Man Peter Parker story. This isn't a Spider-Man Miles Morales story. This is very much a Spider-Man story involving all the people close to Peter, whether it be MJ, Harry, Norman Osborn, all these characters that have been, so close to Peter throughout, this Marvel Insomniac video game franchise series. Some of the things that I think are a little, I guess, unimmersive that kind of pull you away from this story is the whole MJ sequences. I think a lot of people had a lot of things to say about them. I think story wise, it makes sense. You don't want MJ to just be this damsel in distress all the time. It gets annoying. I remember in the Sam Raimi movies, it got very, very old to just see her in that kind of damsel in distress situation. With that being said, they definitely made her a little overpowered, and that definitely takes away a little bit of the, I guess, formidableness of some of these enemies. As you're Peter, you're Miles, and you struggle to fight a lot of these characters. But then I felt like when I was navigating as MJ, I just had no fear. But I think overall, all those little like side parts that kind of like I think in the previous games really took away from like the pacing of the story. I think all those little intricate like side parts away where you're either playing as MJ or a Harry or some other character, right? Whenever you play as them, it definitely feels more story driven, story purposeful. Even though the gameplay changes drastically sometimes, where it almost doesn't feel like you're playing a Spider-Man game, it definitely adds up the world that Peter and Miles kind of navigate. And I think that's what helps elevate Insomniac Spider-Man games up again above a lot of Spider-Man media, is that they understand that Spider-Man is the superhero. He's a fun guy you want to play as. But Peter Parker, Miles Morales, Mary Jane Watson, these are characters that have their own personal lives and their own reasons for why they do these things. And a lot of times they come together and they intertwine. But in this game, a lot of times what you see is they kind of veer away from each other more often than you'd expect. And yes, saving New York and saving the planet and saving all these things are at the most upfront, and that's the things that you got to take priority. but sometimes you want to prioritize your own selfish things. You know, you are a human, and sometimes helping everybody can be draining, and it can put you in a situation that you may not necessarily feel completely in control of. And I think, again, that's something that they really, really understood, and in this specific story told it. Maybe not all the time was it being told the best, but I think definitely when I rounded out the story and I got to the end of it, they definitely cleared out a lot of the parts that I wasn't really feeling too hot on, like some of the MJ moments. I think they definitely really pay off in the end. There were a lot of pacing issues as they're trying to tell so many stories at once, where you'd be in like the heat of a Peter Parker story, only to transition away to a Miles Morales story that isn't really as hot right now, right? So them trying to juggle multiple storylines at once definitely, I don't want to say hindered the experience, but it definitely slowed it down for a bit. But once this game starts ramping up and the story just starts going, like, I feel like you get so much out of it, and it all wraps up so nicely at the end, where it feels just so satisfying. Anyways, hopefully I didn't, spoil too much. I'm trying to keep this as spoiler free as possible, but those are my thoughts on Spider-Man 2. Overall, I recommend this game to pretty much anybody, man. This game, from a narrative reasons, it is amazing. Gameplay, it's amazing. The traversal is awesome. No, I don't think they do a whole lot to really like change what open world means in games, but I don't think they also had to. I think what they did is they took everything that we loved about the original Spider-Man games and just made them better. Anyways, you guys, I'm going to end this review here. Spider-Man 2 on the PlayStation 5 is an amazing game that is easily recommendable to anyone. Do me a favor and like this video if you guys like this video. Please consider subscribing, as that does help us out tons. With all that being said, I'll see you guys on the next video.